Shou Tucker. Shou Tucker was a state alchemist in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, one of the most genuinely disgusting characters in all of anime. He was famous for being the only alchemist who ever created a chimera capable of human speech. Edward and Alphonse came to study under him and spent weeks living in his house with his 4-year-old daughter Nina and her dog Alexander. Nina called her Big Brother. What nobody knew was that Tucker's wife didn't leave him years ago. He fused her with an animal to pass his research assessment. She begged for death until she died. When his next assessment deadline came around, Tucker did it again. He fused Nina and Alexander together into a chimera to pass his exam. When Edward found them, the creature looked up at him with dead white eyes and long brown hair and said,
Big Brother Ed.
Edward nearly beat Tucker to death on the spot. Tucker's response was that Edward wasn't any different from him. Both of them used alchemy for what they needed. The chimera couldn't be reversed. Scar broke in shortly after and killed Tucker. Then Mercy killed Nina because there was genuinely no other option. She was 4 years old. Her last recognizable moment of consciousness was calling for her big brother. One of the most uncomfortable moments in anime history, and Tucker is genuinely one of the most hated characters ever written. Griffith. Griffith spent years building the Band of the Hawk from nothing. People who bled for him, who died for him without hesitation. But what most people don't know is what Griffith was doing behind the scenes to fund his dream of owning a kingdom. Long before any of that, as Casca once explained to Guts, Griffith was so desperate to climb to the top that he literally slept with a wealthy nobleman for money. A man. He did it purely as a transaction to secure funding for his mercenary band. No feelings, no attachment, just a means to an end. Casca watched it happen from a distance and couldn't say anything because Griffith's dream was everything to her, too. That's genuinely uncomfortable when you think about how far he was willing to go before the eclipse even happened. Then, when Guts eventually left the Band of the Hawk, Griffith had a breakdown and slept with Princess Charlotte in a moment of emotional collapse, which got him thrown in prison and tortured for a year. After the band rescued him, and he saw what he'd become, crippled, unable to speak, unable to fight, he triggered the Crimson Behelit and summoned the God Hand. They offered him exactly what he always wanted. The price was every single member of the Band of the Hawk. Griffith looked at the people who gave up everything for him and chose his dream without hesitating. The apostles tore through the entire band while Guts watched, cutting off his own arm trying to reach Griffith. Griffith ascended as Femto, the 5th member of the God Hand, and the last thing he did before fully transforming was assault Casca in front of Guts, specifically because he could. Every member of the Band of the Hawk was gone. Casca never mentally recovered from what happened to her that night. Makima. Makima is one of the most disturbing characters in manga, specifically because of how calculated she is. She spent the entire first arc of Chainsaw Man carefully building Denji up. She gave him a home, food, a reason to exist. She was warm to him in a way nobody had ever been in his entire life. Denji genuinely fell for her completely, the first person who ever made him feel like he mattered. Then, it came out she's the control devil, one of the most powerful devils in existence, capable of controlling any being she considers beneath her, which is essentially everyone. Every moment of warmth was deliberately constructed. She engineered Denji's happiness specifically so she could dismantle it all at once. She killed his friends in front of him one by one. She killed Power, the one genuine connection Denji had, and made him watch it happen. The most uncomfortable thing about Makima isn't what she did, it's how completely she made him trust her first, while knowing exactly what she was going to do to him the entire time. He never saw any of it coming. Johan Liebert. Johan Liebert from Monster is genuinely one of the most disturbing characters ever written in fiction. He looks completely ordinary, calm face, gentle voice, the kind of person you'd trust immediately. He was subjected to psychological experiments as a child at a facility called Kinderheim 511 that deliberately broke children mentally to produce soldiers. Johan came out a nihilist who believed human life had no value and existence itself himself should end. As a child, he killed every foster family he was placed with. He poisoned 3 hospital directors using liquor chocolates. This was already in motion before Dr. Tenma even operated on him. He manipulated a recovering alcoholic detective named Richard Braun to suicide right before the man was about to reunite with his daughter. He killed every single person who ever knew a border guard named Helmut Wolf, friends, family, everyone connected to him, one by one, over years, just to show Helmut what genuine loneliness felt like before he died. He never raises his voice. He never loses control. He just talks to people, and they either kill themselves or kill each other. Johan doesn't want power or revenge. He genuinely wants everything, including himself, to stop existing, and he discusses it with the same calm you'd use talking about the weather. Easily one of the most unsettling characters in existence. Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is a former psychiatrist, one of the most intelligent people in any room he's ever been in, and genuinely one of the most disturbing characters in all of fiction. He prepares his victims into elaborate gourmet meals and serves them to dinner guests who have absolutely no idea what they're eating. What makes Hannibal so uncomfortable to watch compared to every other serial killer is how refined he is. He has stronger opinions about rudeness than most people have about murder. He's killed people specifically because they were discourteous. He serves human organs at dinner parties to colleagues while simultaneously helping the FBI catch other killers. He spends multiple seasons psychologically dismantling FBI profiler Will Graham, a man he genuinely considers his closest friend, while maintaining the appearance of being his therapist the entire time. He's never the most physically dangerous person in the room. He wins entirely through psychology. By the time anyone realizes what he actually is, he already knows more about them than they know about themselves. Pennywise. Pennywise is an ancient cosmic entity that has existed for millions of years and is one of the most disturbing creatures in all of fiction. It has no real form. It takes the shape of whatever its victim fears most. Its preferred disguise is a clown, because clowns already make people uncomfortable, and children are its primary target. It hibernates under the town of Derry, Maine for 27 years at a time, then resurfaces to feed. It doesn't kill immediately. It stalks children first, lets the terror build for weeks. The fear makes them taste better. That's directly from the source material. It literally marinates its victims in their own trauma before eating them. What makes Pennywise genuinely one of the most disturbing characters ever written is what it does to Derry itself. The town has a statistically impossible rate of violence and child disappearances that nobody ever questions. Adults in Derry are psychologically incapable of properly acknowledging what is happening to their own children. Pennywise doesn't just hunt kids, it makes an entire town collectively look away while it does it. Homelander. Homelander was raised in a Vought laboratory from birth. No family, no human connection, no childhood. Just scientists observing him behind glass while a corporation decided what kind of person to manufacture. He grew up believing he was a god because nobody around him was ever capable of saying otherwise. In the show, he left an entire plane full of passengers to die because he accidentally destroyed the controls and didn't want witnesses. He killed the mayor of Baltimore and his young son. He sexually assaulted Becca Butcher. He killed Supersonic and showed the corpse to Starlight as a casual warning. He forced the Deep to eat his pet octopus, Timothy, alive, while the Deep could hear Timothy's terrified thoughts the entire time. In Season 3, he lasered a protester's head off in day-bright light in front of a crowd. The crowd cheered. In the comics, it gets significantly worse. Along with Black Noir and A-Train, he coerced Starlight into a sexual assault the night she joined the Seven as a condition of her membership. He manipulated Soldier Boy into sleeping with him by pretending it was an audition for the Seven. He had Queen Maeve's head thrown off Vought Tower when she stopped being useful. He ordered his own fans beaten to death with baseball bats just to start trouble with Starlight's fan base. The show version of Homelander is already one of the most disturbing characters on television. The comic version is genuinely one of the most disgusting characters ever written. Thragg. Grand Regent Thragg is the result of a centuries-long selective breeding program, the Viltrumite Empire deliberately engineering the perfect warrior across generations until Thragg was produced. He wasn't just born strong, he was specifically manufactured to be the most dangerous Viltrumite who ever lived.
He decapitates Thetis, the founder of the Coalition of Planets and the man who nearly wiped out the entire Viltrumite species with the Scourge virus mid-sentence during the Viltrumite War, and holds the severed head up in front of everyone watching. He kills a scientist who discovers something inconvenient about Mark Grayson's bloodline immediately and without discussion. He has Battle Beast skinned after their fight and wears the hide as a cape. In the final battle, he rips Nolan Grayson completely in half vertically with his bare hands. When it becomes clear he's losing to Mark, he starts grabbing his own hybrid children, the army he spent years building by breeding with Thraxan females across the galaxy and throwing them at Mark one by one as literal projectiles. They splatter on impact. His own daughter, Ursal, tells him to stop. He grabs her by the throat and says no sacrifice is too great. He and Mark end up fighting inside the surface of the sun, both of them burning alive, and Thragg burns to ash inside a star.